Hello, I'm Jonathan Wyner here at MWorks Mastering in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Dangerous Bax EQ. So the name Bax implies a classic analog filter shape called a Baxandall filter, which is the kind of tone control or the shape of filter that you find in a consumer playback system. Whenever you see a treble or a bass control on an old school separate analog receiver or amplifier, it's most likely to have been a Baxandall as opposed to a shelving filter, which is the stock in trade of recording engineers. And what's different about a Baxandall filter shape compared to a shelving EQ is that it's got a very, very gradual rise, very smooth, compared to a classic shelving filter or shelving EQ. And it doesn't shelf off, so it continues to rise all the way through the edges of the spectrum, whether we're talking about low frequency boost or high frequency boost, or cut for that matter. So what are the advantages about having a very gentle filter? Very low phase shift for an analog device in particular. That means it retains transients very well, sounds nice and open, and very high fidelity. It has kind of a smooth character, unlike a shelving EQ, and some people describe the high frequency lift as being more like an air band boost as opposed to something sharp and specific that you get from a shelving EQ. So one of the things that's great about the Bax EQ is the lack of phase shift, which is unusual in the analog domain, and contrasting to other products that have recently come to market that seem to be maximizing phase shift and smearing transients and smearing imaging as a result. The Bax really manages to maintain all of that information in a pristine way. So one of the things that makes it a great mastering tool is that you've got stepped controls in every instance. And so it's possible to recall a track's stereo beautifully and maintain stereo image, which of course is important to us as mastering engineers. It also has some of the best sounding analog high-pass and, in fact, low-pass filters that I've ever used. And in my experience, an analog implementation of a high-pass filter sounds a little bit smoother, a little bit different from a DSP-based version of it. One of the things I've been surprised to find useful is the low-pass filter. There's a setting on it where you can roll off beginning at 70 kilohertz. Well, of course, we're not really going to hear the effect of the roll-off at 70K, but it's got a very gentle slope and reaches down just to the very top part of the spectrum, and maybe can take out a little bit of zizzy, kind of edgy, high-frequency energy that sometimes shows up in mixes that have maybe too much DSP-based processing and gives a little bit of a harshness to the overall sound.